I hate when people complain about doing things they volunteered for. Like, my dad is Mr. Fix-It for 3 different households in our family. Everybody always calls on him to help build a shelf or put together some Ikea garbage. Fuck Ikea, by the way, making you pay full price for furniture that you have to then self-assemble. Why just build it when you can buy it and build it? Yes, they offer assembly services for earth-shattering prices. You're better off driving by Home Depot to pick up a Mexican before realizing once you get there that you might as well also buy the furniture ingredients there for a fraction of the price. I'm not paying quadruple what a material is worth just because it has a white finish, you gouging aristocrats. I'm too Aspergery to follow any kind of blueprinty instructions, but Ikeas are the worst. Every Ikea project has 4 different screws that are a ½ centimeter difference from each other, and if you put the wrong one in the wrong hole, all your materials burst into flames. At least they have terrible food. I don't know why Ikea has a food court. All it sells are Indonesian meatballs and a failure of a cinnamon roll. Fun fact, every customer at Ikea is a college kid trying to impress his roommates, as if anything fancy belongs in a dorm. Hey, don't get pizza sauce on my oak meadow table. I hope it gets termites. Ikea is too big of a place. I go there and feel like I'm in a Westworld for couples that just decided to move in together. Finally, we can indulge in our wildest fantasy of going bankrupt. Can't wait to sell all this shit when we're behind on rent. No one has ever visited Ikea for less than 3 hours. It's like a ninja temple. As soon as you walk in, the door behind you disappears, and the building shifts and turns every 5 minutes until you're completely lost. You start knocking on walls for hollow spots, feeling the edges of hanging portraits for hidden switches, anything to get you the fuck out of this modern design nightmare without overcharging 3 of your credit cards. At night, when the lights go out and the place is closed up, the souls of those poor lost excursion shoppers who starved to death after refusing to eat garbage food come alive and open and close toilet lids all night until the cycle starts back over again. So yeah, my dad, he's Mr. Fix-It and resents people for always needing help with their projects, but he always does it willingly. Like, you can say no. Just say no. Tell them to hire somebody or do it themselves. You don't have to be the family handyman if you hate it so much. I've said this before, but volunteerism plus obligation equals employment. If God forbid anybody ever expected me to do anything for them as a favor that I didn't want to do, I would say nah. It doesn't matter how long it's been understood that you're the guy who's been called on for this particular category of job. It is never an obligation to help someone at your own expense. I don't care if they're hanging by one arm off a cliff. If helping them would inwardly annoy you, just turn around and walk away. Just make sure they're dead afterwards, because you do not want that retribution. Heroes and villains' fatal mistake is always feeling either cocky or merciful and letting the other one live. No, kill him dead, end the cycle. And if you're ever a villain and you do some evil thing where the only survivor is a child, hunt them down and murder them right fucking now. Otherwise, they will grow up with vengeance and justice as their parents, and those assholes teach some strong lessons. When I'm a supervillain, I will have a zero-tolerance policy for survivors of anything. It's how you maintain longevity in the business. There's a certain poetry in a dog chewing on its favorite bone while its owner lays in a hospital bed with leukemia. You never really run out of leukemia jokes. I love how deep comedy can be when it comes to logical deconstruction. There's so much to think about that makes sense and you don't know why it does. For example, if I were to ask you what the funniest diseases are, what would your answers be? I'm sure they'd be varied, but not a single person wouldn't be able to think of any. Rectal cancer, erectile dysfunction, pretty much anything that involves genitalia or your asshole is always a top contender, and that's understandable given how fascinated humanity is with reproductive organs and their forbidden taboo charm, which translates into humor quite easily as a rebellious thing. But even beyond that, leukemia, AIDS is a huge one to the point of being memeified. Whatever supposed world-ending plague is going around at the time, like swine flu or Zika, that'll be forgotten just as fast as it came onto the scene. I completely forgot Ebola existed. Remember Ebola? Of course you don't. Even West Africa doesn't remember Ebola. It barely ranks in their swath of problems. Weird how none of these apocalypse-ushering plagues have any staying power. Well, the truth is they stay where they originate and continue to bring strife and pestilence for hundreds of years, but they keep out of America, so who gives a shit, right? Our country cannot handle disease. It's been almost 50 years since we started officially trying to come up with a cure for cancer, but all we can do is pin it in the ring and pray it taps out. Remission isn't a medical success, it's a postponing of failure. Congratulations! After months of radiation indiscriminately incinerating your insides, you've earned a fucking coin toss. It's kind of shameful. We can't cure cancer, but we can perform a head transplant. Not brain, whole goddamn head. I'll float an opinion out there for anyone who spent billions realizing this dream nobody had, but if I'm decapitated and my loose head is then smashed by a boulder, I'll prefer to stay dead. I won't even put a mask on for Halloween. I ain't wearing someone else's head my whole life. If anything, I'll carry it around with me like the Headless Horseman and appear on cobblestone bridges during especially foggy nights. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.